Today I want to have a look at these upgrade halogen headlight bulbs. These are the BOSCH Gigalight Plus 120. They always have these really ridiculous names. This is one of these uprated but still road legal replacement bulbs. Just a regular 55 watt halogen, and this is the H7 version for the dip beam in my Ford with Reflector headlights. So these upgraded things, they sort of squeak out a bit of extra light out of the filament by trading some lifetime and reliability, but they are still just regular 55 watt bulbs. And these ones are replacing my Philips X-tremeVision Plus 130s, one of which has now died, this one on the right. I did a review of these years ago, and to be fair, they did last a fair long time, so I'm not disappointed in them. This time, though, I came to this BOSCH product after doing a bit of research into testing. I found this website, which I recommend having a look at, bulbfacts.com, where they've done a bit of testing to put some numbers on these things, so you can see brightness measurements in lux, and also color measurements, the color, temperature, and Kelvin, and also lifetime hours for some. They've tested them to failure. I wouldn't take it as pure gospel, but because things are gonna vary a little bit from car to car. But it might help you make a slightly more informed choice depending on what you find available and at what price. Now, talking about color, the Philips have this dual blue banding, and the blue tint is, is being intended to filter out the reds and yellows in the halogen light and make it look bluer or whiter, at least at the parts of the light that spill outside the beam proper. And the BOSCH doesn't have the lower band, the one further back here. It's only got the one at the very front or the top of the bulb. So I assume that they must be thinking that some of that lower section is still useful light, and that might make its way into the beam proper. See, in a reflector headlight, this is your headlight, and this is the bulb. And your beam from the headlight is, if this is the filament in the bulb, the beam from the headlight is made up of light which is reflected off the reflector like this. And as you can see, it's really the sideways radiant light from the bulb which is actually forming 99% of what ends up being the forward projected beam light. So if you want maximum brightness, you don't want to tint this area of the bulb, even if you'd prefer whiter light, because it would cut out too much useful light, bearing in mind that most of the light in the spectrum of any incandescent bulb is actually the red and the yellow, which the blue filter is filtering out. But at the extremities of the bulb, you're just getting really what is spillover glare. So if you tint this blue, and maybe back here too, like on the Philips, although as I said, the BOSCH doesn't do it, light that's going through this filter is maybe just spilling directly out, not reflecting off anything, but it's not part of the beam, or it's doing some weird reflection like this, like that. So that's the glare that you get from the bulb. It's the light that you sort of see when you're looking side on to the car, or you're above the beam or something. And so those parts of it, you can filter it and make it look bluer. And that's the trick that these manufacturers are doing with these whiter, so to say, bulbs. You can get bulbs which have the blue tint all over them, and that does make the whole light, including the beam, look whiter or bluer. But that's always going to be a major brightness sacrifice. You don't get a free lunch, so I wouldn't recommend that for real world driving. So to test the color a little bit, I just took a photo like this of the beam, just catching the edge of the beam with this white piece of cardboard. Perceptually it looked more like that, but I can just use this the Photoshop window here to eyedrop test the color, and we can measure it. So this is over here, this is more like where just the edge of the beam, and if I click around there, you'll see over here it's about 3550, 3500, 3450. So that's about what you'd expect for the unfiltered halogen light around the beam. But if we go out here closer to the fringes, so start measuring around here, that's 3600, 3650, 3550, 3750, 3700, 3700. So about 3700. If you go down there, that's more like 3550. Out here, it's not so high, but this area here, it was. This seems to be where the light that's actually gone through that blue filter is ending up. So you get the idea. It kind of works as intended, and you get a little bit of a blue shift. So I've put the Bosch bulbs in my car, but I wanted to do a brightness comparison. So here first are some standard non-uprated bulbs. They are Philips actually, so they're not junk, but they're not the XtremeVision. And then here are the BOSCH Gigalight 120s. So the camera here has unchanged settings, so as you can see there is a real and quite significant increase in brightness. I don't have the ability to measure total lumens from a bulb, and a lux measurement might be misleading. But at the end of the day, I think that this perceptual difference, that you can see for yourself here, is what's important anyway. Just back to the old standard ones, and then the Bosch again. And further to that perceptual improvement, here's a real-world demo. Firstly, driving with the standard bulbs down a back street, and with the Bosch bulbs. Now the camera exposure settings are again the same here, but I did forget to manually set the color temperature, so it would be best not to read too much into the color difference if you see anything here. I should say that they are not noticeably different in terms of whiteness to the naked eye, but that's because we're looking at the beam, as I discussed before, so you wouldn't expect anything. And here's just both side by side. So if you want an easy upgrade to your halogen lights, then I absolutely do recommend these. You will pay for it probably with a reduced bulb lifetime, because they do have reduced hours, but I think it's probably worth it. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Have fun.